Hey everyone, how's it going? For today's presentation, let's take an up-close and personal, in-depth look at this 2003 Ferrari Enzo. And this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the Enzo. We'll start up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip, and go over the performance data, as well as show you a bunch of the unique aspects of the interior as well as exterior. And before we begin, I'd like to extend a big thanks and special shout out to Prestige Imports Lamborghini Miami, located in Miami, Florida, for allowing me to come out and film and providing the Enzo featured in today's video. For more information about any of the other ultra exotics in their inventory, check out the link in the description box below. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up, let her run. The Enzo is a pretty simple vehicle overall. Manual locks, manual windows, and it doesn't feature a radio. Built solely for hardcore performance. It's a bright, classic Ferrari red exterior with an all-black leather interior and plenty of carbon fiber trim. In order to start, go ahead and take the key and turn the vehicle's power on. Then just depress the brake pedal and hit the red button in the center console to start. An absolutely legendary sound. With only 2.2 turns to lock, the Enzo features a quick ratio power-assisted rack and pinion steering setup routed through a combination carbon fiber perforated leather 3-spoke steering wheel. The upper portion is finished in high-gloss carbon fiber with a flatter design towards the top. The flat portion contains a strip of LED indicators that work in tandem with the F1 paddle shift transmission. The first light illuminates above 5,500 RPM, with each succeeding light coming on in 500 RPM increments to indicate appropriate shift points. Across each side of the airbag cover are the vehicle's various traction settings, while the silver button on the right activates reverse and the yellow ringed button to the left activates the electric front suspension lift, raising the front end an additional 1.4 inches over its low-slung 3.9-inch ride height to help clear curbs and speed bumps. The arrows on the upper spokes are for the turn signals, whereas the horn buttons are within the upper grip bolsters. Race mode adjusts the dampers, while ASR alters the stability control. As far as the gearbox, the Enzo came equipped with an innovative F1-style electro-hydraulic 6-speed automated manual transmission with launch control system. Similar to the original design that debuted in the late 1990s, the Enzo differed from other Ferraris like the 360 Modena by not offering an automatic mode. It was also tuned further to shift smoother with less delay than some of the early offerings. The gear changes must be manually selected via the carbon fiber paddles behind the steering wheel and can work its magic between gears in just 150 milliseconds. And so, we're going to flip on the headlamps as well as the hazards. The windows roll down manually, and let's go and check out the exterior. Since Ferrari first opened its doors in 1947, their history has been filled with an illustrious motorsports pedigree. Known for creating some of the most iconic, exclusive, high-performing cars over the years, both in racing and on the street. Therefore, it shouldn't come as a surprise that Ferrari isn't a stranger to the race circuit, especially with Formula One. While manufacturers involved in F1 do occasionally adapt technology and lessons learned to their production lineup, Ferrari does things a little bit differently. Every now and then, the Italian marque designs an automotive icon, a pinnacle of engineering for its time that represents the best of a brand. These cars, always produced in limited numbers, would give a lucky few a small slice of automotive history with legendary performance. In the past few decades, these halo cars have included the 288 GTO, the F40, F50, and the Enzo. Of course, we can't forget the newly introduced LaFerrari. It's hard to believe that it's just been over a decade since the Enzo first hit the streets with a limited production of just 399 units. Only 80 or so actually made it to the US. A 400th Enzo was actually made, but it was donated to the Vatican for charity. The Enzo represented the best Ferrari had to offer in terms of engineering, aerodynamics, and speed. It was the fastest, and at an MSRP of $659,000, it was also the most expensive Ferrari built to date. A car so innovative it was named after the company's founder, Enzo Ferrari. To buy one back when production was beginning, you had to be invited, similar to the technique Lexus employed with ordering the LFA, with first dibs going to previous Ferrari owners, especially those who had owned an F40 or F50, etc. in the past. It was only available in 3 exterior colors: black, red, and yellow. Automotive journalists weren't even able to drive the factory cars when it first came out for proper road testing. They had to track down an owner who was already able to snag an Enzo before they completely sold out. Only then were they able to conduct their respective battery of tests. With a hybrid carbon fiber aluminum structure, F1 style suspension, aerodynamic body, and a potent V12, Ferrari not only created a proper successor, but one that was more refined in just about every way possible. The Enzo was built on top of a carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb monocoque chassis, wrapped in a carbon composite body. The carbon fiber tub only weighs 202 pounds, which is a 23-pound weight advantage over the F50. The sleek, hunkered-down Pininfarina design profile is a derivative of its aerodynamic properties, designed in a wind tunnel to help develop a tremendous amount of downforce at speed. Each vent, scallop, and body curve take the air through and around the car to decrease turbulence and help make it as slippery as possible. Unlike its predecessors, the Enzo didn't have a need for a large fixed rear wing, but a small adjustable unit that's flush with the rear. When you look at the styling, you'll notice how wide the Enzo appears. Up front, the prominent boot lid towers above the body, creating an extended nose. The 2 large intakes to either side of the front fascia carry the air through the twin radiators before exiting the cavities in the top of the fenders that help direct the air as it passes over the top of the vehicle towards the rear. Everything else from the vents behind the front wheels to the 2 sets of vents in the rear fender before the rear wheels help carry the air through the body or help assist in component cooling. In the rear, the quad exhausts were moved to the furthest edges of the bumper to help make room for a huge carbon rear diffuser, designed to help draw out slower moving air underneath the nearly flat underbody to help further increase downforce. In addition to the deployable rear wing, there's also a 1-foot wide flap hidden underneath the front of the car in between the radiators. That flap is closed while the rear wing is extended fully between 37 and 159 miles an hour. At higher speeds, the wing begins to close while the flap gradually opens to help create more stability at higher speeds. In fact, at 124 miles an hour, the body is developing 756 pounds of downforce. At 186 miles an hour, it more than doubles to 1,709 pounds, while it slightly decreases to 1,290 pounds as it reaches its top speed of 218 miles an hour. As Spartan as features may be, standard equipment like power steering, automatic climate control, and even leather add to weight of any vehicle. The Enzo is still a light car, but it was 182 pounds heavier than the F50. Keep in mind though, with the huge increase in power that the Enzo has, it has a better horsepower to weight ratio than the F50. The cornerstone of any Ferrari is its race-bred advanced engine lineup. The Enzo received an all-new 65-degree V12 that trumped the F50 in just about every way, designed to be both powerful and lightweight while having the characteristically lively nature. All in all, the engine weighs just 496 pounds and has approximately 110 brake horsepower per liter, or 5 horsepower per pound. It features variable intake and exhaust valve timing, port fuel injection, a compression ratio of 11.2 to 1, and a red line of 8,200 RPM. The Bosch Motronic ME7 engine control system modulates each bank of cylinders, which are linked to a drive-by-wire throttle. With variable length carbon fiber intake manifold, induction length extends significantly below 3,500 RPM for improved low-speed torque and acceleration. Each cylinder is lined with a press-fit Nikasil sleeve, with each having a single coil for each spark plug. It has a bore of 92mm with a 75.2mm stroke for a total capacity of 5,998 cc's. The pent roof combustion chamber design is also optimized for engine cooling, while proper lubrication is provided by an F1 style dry sump setup. In addition, the connecting rods are titanium paired with a lighter forged crankshaft than before. The Enzo's wheel and tire package consists of asymmetric 19-inch forged aluminum alloys measuring 9 inches wide up front and 13 inches wide in the rear, all with central locking hubs. Helping aid to the impressive 1.05 G of cornering grip are high-performance Bridgestone Potenza Scuderia tires, two 45-35s in front and three 45-35s in the rear. As far as the brakes, they're huge custom-designed Brembo carbon ceramic cross-drilled discs measuring 15 by 1.3 inches at each corner, clamped down by aluminum 6-piston calipers up front and 4-piston calipers in the rear. These carbon ceramic brakes shave 27.5 pounds of weight when compared to conventional cast iron discs. They're also vastly more durable, having higher resistance to heat and fade under harder driving. With this setup, it's known for the Enzo to be able to brake from 60 miles an hour in an astonishingly short 95 feet. The F1 derived horizontally opposed pushrod coil suspension actuates a set of upper and lower A-arms in the front and rear, paired with continuously variable dampers, and makes for a very tight vehicle through the corners while helping keep the ride quality relatively comfortable for this particular vehicle class. Overall length is 185 inches with a width of 80.1 inches and a height of 45.2 inches, running on a 104.3 inch wheelbase. Total curb weight is just over 3,200 pounds with a weight distribution between the front and rear of 44% and 56% respectively. Alright guys, to open up the hood of the Enzo, it's actually a multi-step process. First, we're going to pop the hood release lever right here. Then, go ahead and walk on back. Grab it, lift it up, and there's a prop rod right here that you would go ahead and unclip, set right there, and there's two holding pins here. Put it in, lock it in place, and there you go. The Enzo's performance comes from an all-new, mid-mounted, all-aluminum 6-liter dual overhead cam, 48-valve, 65-degree V12. It produces 660 horsepower at 7,800 RPM and 485 pound-feet of torque at 5,500 RPM. Compared to the F50, that's an improvement of 147 horsepower and 138 pound-feet of torque. With these numbers, the Enzo is able to accelerate to 60 miles an hour from a standstill in a blistering 3.3 seconds, while passing the quarter mile in 11.2 seconds while traveling at 136 miles an hour. Top speed is upwards of 218 miles an hour. The biggest improvement over the F50 though is torque. At just 3,000 RPM, the Enzo has 391 pound-feet, which is about 80% of the total, ready to go for low-speed acceleration. It's a big improvement since the F50 tapped out at 347 pound-feet at 6,500 RPM. At idle, the Enzo is relatively docile thanks to a set of exhaust bypass valves. The computer automatically opens it up fully to let out that menacing howl by detecting throttle position, engine speed, and speed of travel, adjusting accordingly. As far as fuel consumption, the Enzo has a large 29.1 gallon tank and requires premium gasoline. EPA ratings range between 8 miles to a gallon in the city and 12 on the highway. And to put it back down, just do the opposite. The doors to the Enzo feature aluminum hinges and are fixed to both the waistline and the roof, giving the characteristic of opening up and out. Being that the doors also incorporate part of the roof, it also makes it easier to climb in and out, especially for taller individuals. The door panels are carbon fiber, but do have some padding where you place your arm closing the door, not to mention the manual window levers you saw earlier. Taking a closer look throughout the interior, you'll see that the carbon fiber intensive theme continues across the entry thresholds as well as the seat backs. The entire seat frames in fact are composed of carbon fiber, with enough padding to keep it a little bit comfortable but have a focus on support. With the Ferrari logo branded up top, you see that there are two carbon fiber ports where you can strap in a racing harness. The high gloss finish carries across the back of the seat shell as well, and it does feature basic manual adjustments. Your handbrake is located to the left hand side, whereas pretty much everything that isn't carbon fiber is wrapped in soft stitched leather. For extra accommodation of body types, the seat belts are also adjustable, and the seat backs themselves can actually be interchanged to fit different body types. Continuing across the entry threshold, you'll see that the entire tub of the vehicle has the exposed carbon fiber except for the rubber floor mats that you see below. Within the dash, all of the inner workings are also exposed, giving kind of a bare bones race car feel, so you can see all the tubing for the air conditioning, the steering column, as well as all the linkages for the cross-drilled aluminum pedals down below. Even the dash has some subtle touches of leather, of course, in the appropriate touch points. Nicely finished off with an all-black leather headliner.
So let's go ahead and see how she sounds. So we're going to shut her up.
Overall, the interior of the Enzo is rather bare, designed for a symbiotic relationship between human and machine. Therefore, there aren't any unnecessary distractions from the purest driving experience. There's no radio or sat-nav, just your bare essential necessities such as automatic climate control and power mirrors, which make that aspect a whole lot easier since they're mounted so far up the fender. Across the center console, you have a plaque with Enzo Ferrari's signature, as well as 2 storage compartments and a power outlet towards the rear, not to mention a small storage compartment. A slender rear window in the back lets you look over that beautiful V12, whereas your instrument cluster is finished in classic red Ferrari gauges with an LCD screen to the left that shows necessary vehicle status gauges, as well as your odometer and more. Your intermittent wipers are located to the right, whereas the rest of the dash carries off that minimalistic theme with adjustable air vents.
Alrighty. Then shut her down. And we'll check out the rest of the vehicle. So we're going to pop the boot.
So now let's talk about storage space. Pop the secondary release lever, and the Enzo you'll find has around 2 cubic feet of cargo space, which is quite tiny and pretty typical of what you would find in this vehicle class. What is cool though is that you can see some of the pushrod suspension links towards the top as well as the air filter for easy changing. You also get a few pieces of leather luggage that fit nicely within the storage compartment. With a racing pedigree to back it up, the Enzo was and still is a legend in its own right. At the time, it was a benchmark for performance and over-the-top engineering. Its refinement, build quality, and aerodynamics gave it the edge over its predecessor, while its suspension, comfort, and profile made it a relatively easy car to drive. A car that's likely to climb in value over the years as a true collector's piece. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2003 Ferrari Enzo. Be sure to stay tuned next time, there's a lot more where that came from. Take care everybody.